20. In the morning, when all the kids were receiving their updates and tasks, I headed over to Gunnar. "Leg-a-leg's okay," he said. "Holtzberg got hit. His town. His home." "I'm sorry," I said, trying to hide my relief that my family and Megs were okay for another day. The examiner appeared beside us. "Gunnar," she said, "it might interest you to know that only the northwest area of Holtzberg got hit." Gunnar flushed pink, trying not to look too relieved in front of the other boys. He nodded his thanks and turned to the map with the others. "Mathilde," the examiner said, "come to my office." I hurried to follow. "Shut the door," she said once we were inside. I did, and in response to her nod, took the chair in front of her desk. I waited, heart thudding. She'd heard about me talking to the man at the shop, or trying to write home. After a moment's silence, she said, "We've acquired a prisoner of war." "What?" "We're holding a Tissian soldier." She studied me until I couldn't wait anymore. "Why are you telling me?" "I'm giving you an assignment." I stared at her. "Part of your daily work will now include talking to him." "You want me to talk to him?" The other children all had tasks that were puzzles. She nodded. "Haven't you already questioned him?" "I want you to." "Every day?" "There are things we can't learn in one day." I nodded slowly. "What do you want me to learn?" She continued, as if I hadn't asked the question. "You will talk to him alone, but you will be perfectly safe. I will check in with you every day." Okay. I still didn't know what I was meant to learn, but I knew I couldn't ask her again. She would have answered my question if she'd wanted to. "You'll start this morning. Ready?" I stared at the examiner as she started to get up. I didn't move. "Now?" "Yes, now." "Does he speak Sophorender?" "He should. If that's not working, your Eileen is better than your Tissian according to the translations on your test, so try that next." "What?" I searched for a way to rephrase my question. "What do you want me to ask him about?" "Nothing in particular. Just talk." "Just talk?" "Just talk." "Just talk." And report what I'd learned. What am I supposed to say to him? "Anything you'd like, except about our work here." She wasn't giving me a goal. How could I possibly succeed? "Ready?" she asked again. I nodded. I wasn't allowed to say no. She led me to an upstairs corridor of offices. Grown-ups glanced at me through their open doors as I passed. None looked twice, so I figured they weren't bothered to see me in their hallway. They were all dressed like the examiner and doing what seemed to be paperwork. They were very quiet. So adults worked downstairs and upstairs. A lot of different things went on in this building. Each thing secret from the others. The examiner paused at a door. She unlocked it and handed me a key. "Your key will work on either side of this door. I'm going to lock you in." Locked in, alone with a Tissian soldier. I shivered. Be brave. Be brave. I wouldn't really be locked in. I'd have a key. I took a deep breath, accepted the key, and stepped into the room. I stood in a narrow passage along the side of the room. A metal fence went from ceiling to floor. Beyond that was a second metal fence, also from ceiling to floor, so there could always be at least 3 feet of space between us. On the other side of the fencing was another door. It had no doorknob. A metal plate extended from the door to cover what would have been a gap in the wall and the door. There was a cot with blankets, a pitcher with water, and a basin, an empty plate, presumably from breakfast, and a bucket with a lid. And there he was, sitting, knees drawn to his chest. My enemy had been aerials in the sky, bombs, hunger, loved ones taken away. I had never pictured a Tissian before. He wasn't even old, only a few years older than Tommy, maybe 18. He wore drab beige clothes. His hair was blonde like mine. He looked up as I entered, and I saw his eyes were blue, like mine. If I had bothered to picture a Tissian, I wouldn't have pictured him to be so much like me. My skin itched, and something heavy settled in my stomach. He turned even paler as he stared at me, like maybe I was a ghost. What could I say to him? I walked over to the fence. Was it rude to stare when it was the enemy? When he was in a cage? Father took me and Cammy to the zoo once. There had been a tiger. We couldn't get enough of looking at the tiger. The tiger stared back at me, still waiting. How was I supposed to begin this conversation that was to happen every day? Standing up taller than him didn't seem to be right, so I backed up to my wall and slid down, sitting with crossed legs. I looked at him and started the only way I knew how. I'm Mathilde.